Hello, my name is Hugh King, and here we have a program today called Diversity, which is the first in the series of programs that's brought to you by the East Hampton Town Antibias Task Force. And with us today are two members of the task force, Edna Steck and Audrey Gaines. All right, well, let's get right to it. Edna, can you tell us how members of the Anti-Bias Task Force Committee are picked, and who are some of these members?
Yeah, Hugh, the task force is composed of concerned citizens and representatives of law enforcement, the clergy, local schools, and other organizations. And also the mayor of East Hampton Village. We are appointed by the town board annually. If someone is interested in becoming a member, they can attend one or two meetings and see if it is really something that they are interested in working on. And then we could present them for appointment by the town board. The current members include Kim Jones, who is our chairperson, and Jack Perna, Audrey Gaines, and Larry Smith and Michael Butler, all of who were original members of the task force back in from 1993 through 2010.
Wow.
And are now on it again as we were reactivated in 2012.
Okay.
Other members include both police chiefs, Mike Sarlo and M.Tracey, and also Deborah Winters.
She's the superintendent of the spring school.
Right, and we have also Karen Martin, Denise Allen, Louise Bergeson, who runs an ESL program in town, the Reverend Thompson and Reverend Leandra Lambert from St. Luke's, and Andrew Strong, Tim Garneau, Averill Guess, Vicki Loria, Rosa Scott, who was also a member of the original task force, Nancy Papard, and Andriana Leon. Sylvia Overby is our town board liaison, and Jean Hudson in her office also attends our meetings and acts as our secretary, and myself. And we have meetings on the second Wednesday of the month at 4 p.m. at Town Hall. They are open to the public, and we encourage people to come and listen and contribute any concerns, information that they have.
Okay. Audrey, why does our team need such an anti-bias task force?
Well, Hugh, here's why we need an anti-bias task force. Because intolerance against individuals or groups, it tears at the fabric of society and our community. All incidents of biases are wrong. Many are against the law. Acts of aggression based on prejudice alienates individuals and groups, robbing us of the sense of security and the well-being we seek for all of us and our families as we live and we work and we play here in our community. And the Anti-Bias Task Force is a big help to bringing us together and working together as a community, and builds a safe community.
Also, I think because of the explosion of the internet, there's so many other ways now that bullying and bias can be expressed, and there's another need, I believe, for a force like this.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Edna, well, how does the task force respond to an incident? Now, what happens if someone wants to report an incident?
Well, we have a hotline number that people can call if they feel that they have been the victim or target of a bias or discrimination incident. And Jean Hudson and Sylvia Overby's office responds to those messages and passes the information on to Sylvia, who brings them to the Anti-Bias Task Force. We do not investigate. That is not our role. We do discuss the report in executive session, and 2 or 3 members of our committee may meet with the individual to assess what the nature of the incident is. It could be a housing issue, it could be a racial bias issue, discrimination, or it could be an employment issue. We have had incidents of day workers not being paid, for instance. And what we do is we try to assess what the nature of that problem is, and then refer the person to the appropriate referral resource for help in dealing with it. And that resource would do an investigation if that were necessary. And depending on the nature of the incidents, we could refer to the Long Island Housing Division. We could refer to the Suffolk County Human Rights Division or the New York State Human Rights Commission. We could refer to NAACP or to the police if it was an actual crime that might be connected. We refer to a number of different organizations depending on the nature and the kind of discrimination it is. If it's someone with a disability, for instance, we would refer them to the Suffolk Nassau Law Services. And we have a brochure that we have printed in both English and Spanish, which lists all of those resources in it. So, and then that's how, and we would follow up to make sure that the person received help. If it's something that an incident in the community, for instance, like the painting of the swastikas on the rocks lately, or the Ku Klux Klan leaflets that were distributed around, we would then write letters to the editors in order to make the public aware that those kind of acts are intolerable in our community.
Can people themselves contact any of these agencies if they feel that they have an incident to report and go past the Antibias Task Force?
Absolutely. And we would encourage people to pick up our brochure. They can be picked up in Sylvia's office. They've been distributed around town to the churches and different libraries and different places.
They are in the library?
Yes,
Those
they should
brochures?
be in the library, and their whole list of resources that people can contact, for themselves.
Okay, good. Now, what is the hotline number?
Well, we have a hotline number that anyone can call if they have a bias situation or they want to report whatever. And, as Edna had said, if they have, they get disturbing mail, like a Ku Klux Klan, distributes brochures or whatever flyers, I should say. The hotline number is 631-998-1010, extension 2133. And who will answer that? It'll go to the voicemail, and then Jeannie Hudson, who is the secretary, she will, she's Sylvia Overby's secretary. She will then, respond to the call and give it to Sylvia. And if it's an incident, Sylvia will come and discuss it with the Antibias Task Force.
Okay, now, you said when does the Anti-Bias Task Force meet? You meet every?
The second Wednesday of every month.
Okay. So Sylvia would have to wait until your meeting to bring?
She could call. She doesn't have to wait. She could call, a special meeting for that. If it were serious enough, and certainly a few of us would be able to come, to the meeting and discuss this. And as Edna said, it's not for us to investigate it, because we don't do that. But there's the resources that that can be referred to. That's in the brochure.
Okay. Well, we already answered number 6. What resources do you refer someone to, right? Okay. Now, Audrey, what programs or activities has the task force provided in the schools?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because
Yes.
I think the school is very important to get involved in the Anti-Bias Task Force. I think that we always wanted to have the students involved, because if you learn early, then it's a good thing, and you know that. So we started, we've had the Ambassadors Program this year. Last year, we started with the Ambassadors Program, which involved, getting students together and having them to, they address issues as, bias issues like prejudice, discrimination, bullying, and they bring in people from different cultures, and they talk about their culture, and it brings them to the point, that they have at least the sensitivity, the training, the understanding of different people's life, different people's point of view, And the spring school, Deborah Winters, the superintendent of the spring school, they did an ambassadors program in Springs, in which they got a Suffolk County an award from the Suffolk County Antibias Task Force.
So let me ask you, the ambassador program means the school will bring in individuals to speak to the students?
Yes, if the school does the program. We did the program last year.
At Spring
Kim
School.
Jones did the program last year, where she did bring in people from different walks of life, from different cultures, different religions, and spoke to the students, spoke to a group of students about their about their lives, and she tries to address, these different issues of prejudice, bullying, and different things.
Is this
of that
one
kind.
class, just like one class?
Well,
or-
it has to be, I think a group of kids would have to sign up for it. It's a volunteer kind of a situation where kids volunteer to come in. I think she talks to students. I think that perhaps the guidance counselor, or social worker, or someone will get these kids together and see if they're interested in doing it. And it's a really great program. I don't know exactly how the spring school recruits kids. And I have to also tell you that Jack Perna does wonderful diversity programs, and he's on our task force as well, too.
He's the superintendent of the
He's the
Montauk School.
superintendent of the
Right.
Montauk School, and he does these diversity programs.
And those are the only two schools so far that have...
So far, three, well, hopefully that we're going to be doing more with the ambassadors program in the, at the school in East Hampton. And they seem to be very open to it, so we're hopefully we'll get them more involved in it and because that ambassadors program also builds on leadership. The kids become leaders, they can, they help other kids in the school. They help, when they see situations, they will be able to, help with that.
Okay, if a school wants to be part of this program, who would they contact?
Well, they can come to the Antibias Task Force, and they can, they can be part of it. We would love to have the schools involved in it, because I think if we involve the schools, if we involve the students, that's, our work is done, because, they're the ones that talk to each other and get, involved.
So a school official could call the chairperson of the Antibias Task Force.
They could.
And set up a meeting or come to a meeting to see what it's about, and
Yes.
then they could start the program if they wanted to. You haven't gone into the schools to ask. Are you waiting for the schools to come to you?
No, we did go to the school with the ambassadors program there at the high school. And the ambassadors program can start at very young ages.
Sure.
It doesn't have to start at the high school age. It can start at the it can start in the grade schools, because that would be a great place for it to start, and then and continue. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your program in the schools right now.
That's one of the programs that we had in the school.
Yeah.
And
We've also done the bumper sticker.
the bumper sticker, I want to tell you about
Okay.
contest.
Go ahead.
the East Hampton. We have a bumper sticker design competition, okay? The East Hampton Town Antibias Task Force is sponsoring a bumper sticker design contest, and all students in the town of East Hampton are eligible to participate. Submission for this bumper sticker is, the deadline will be March 2nd. So they should submit the bumper sticker for the contest. And we also have it in Spanish and in English, and it's distributed to the schools. And we have already, Spring School and Montauk School has submitted a ton of bumper stickers that they've made, and they're going to display them in the town hall so people can come in and see
When
them.
they come to the meeting, or
They don't have to even come to the meeting. I think we're going to put them on a bulletin,
Yeah, right.
and they can come in and see them.
okay, but the bumper sticker has the words on it have to be something about anti-bias. Is that what
Right.
you're doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
'cause it goes as the competition is an opportunity for participants to reflect on diversity, increase their understanding of the value that differences have in a respectful and civil society. So the design should challenge prejudice, stereotyping, or other forms of discrimination.
Okay.
Appropriate themes will promote fairness, respect, caring, and family pride, self-awareness, empowerment, and the comfort and joy that can be found within human diversity. And the kids have a lot of bumper stickers that they submitted
Was it
the other day.
The
at
Montauk School?
Montauk School and Spring
Spring
School.
School. These seems to be the two schools right
They
now.
are gun-ho, and I have to
very
tell
good.
you, both Jack Perna and Deborah Winters are very involved in their diversity programs.
Well, there's room for more schools.
We're trying to get into more schools. We're trying to hopefully get that ambassadors program going in the schools again and continue to keep them going.
Okay. Edna, now, what is being planned? What programs are we going to be planning now coming up
Well-
in our series called Diversity? You hear it here first.
Well, we are planning a series of shows like this, in which Audrey and I will be interviewing people from the community, from various backgrounds and experiences, and work, the kinds of things that they're involved in. And we will be interviewing them and sharing so that they can share what they are doing and their concerns or interests with our community. We will have representatives, someone, for instance, from Ola, perhaps the rabbi, and other people within the community who are involved and concerned about bias and about creating a community of I want to say almost a community of love rather than hate.
Yeah. It would be good, here's a suggestion, maybe you could get some of the administrators from the schools that aren't
Yes.
on your list of
Right.
being in the ambassador program.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly the two police chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah.
will
Yep,
certainly
definitely.
want to be part of
Yeah.
this. Superintendents.
Right.
I'm trying to think who else. Maybe people somebody from the Senior Citizen Center.
Well, absolutely, because I think it's important to remember that when we talk about bias and discrimination, we're talking about across the spectrum, from racial issues, ethnicity issues, sex orientation issues, gender issues, age issues, as well as disabilities, and also family status issues, economic issues that people have been discriminated against, for instance, for being poor in many cases, many cases.
It's not a choice.
It's not a choice, right. And so we look at all of those, that whole spectrum of where there can be possible discrimination or bias, and try to understand them. So the people that we interview will be from all of those aspects.
It might be a good idea on the next show to have a list ready, so
Yeah.
at the end of the show you could begin telling people, and now next week we're going to have, or the
Right.
next couple of weeks, the following people will be coming.
We've
Right.
asked the task force to identify some people as well.
Right.
Because
That's a great idea.
they may know people that we can go to, that, that they can refer to the show. And more people will see and understand what, the anti-bias or even bias, the diversity is all about in our town, is that we embrace diversity. So this way, we'll get the word out and people can see, different people from different cultures, from different, walks of life, so they can then, appreciate our town for what it's, really doing, One of the other things that we didn't
Go
say,
ahead,
and
we
I'll
got
just
time.
tell you, is that if we have time,
Sure.
is to the different, the documentaries that we have
Yes.
done, yes. We've done those different, the Antibias Task Force over the years have done a few wonderful documentaries, and one of them was he had done at LTV, and I remember that we did have we did have the school involved. We had some teacher, we had a English teacher here, I think Mrs. Dunn, that was involved, and a student that was involved here, and I can't remember the student's name, I'm sorry. But it was A Time for Justice. It was about the 1954...
What was it called?
A Time for Justice. It was about the 1954 Supreme Court decision outlawing school segregation to the 1965 passing... it was outlawing the school segregation to the 1965 passing of Voting Rights Act, or was it Mighty Times?
Right.
The Mighty, have you ever heard the Mighty Times?
No.
I had never heard of it either, but it was the Children's March about the 1963 Birmingham, Alabama children who organized and led a civil rights movement, nonviolent protests.
Okay, now, did you show these? Where did you show them?
Here at LTV.
Oh, I
This
see.
was
You
done
had
at
a night at
LTV. Yes,
LTV.
yeah.
Oh, well,
The
that's-
yeah.
Right.
Um,
We also did some at the library.
Oh, that,
And
Well, this one,
this
the
one was
Children's
at the
March was done
LTV.
here, and the
Right.
Time for Justice was done here, but the Supreme Court decision was done here.
Right.
And then the one that we did at the library was Disturbing the Peace,
Right.
right? The one we did at the library was about the Israeli and Palestinian combatants.
So what, you got a hold of these documentaries and then you put out the word to people and you had people come and watch it? Is that what
Yeah.
you're telling me? How well were they attended?
They were attended pretty well, and
Yeah.
following each movie, each showing, we had a discussion
Good.
among the audience about the content of the program. And the one the one Disturbing the Peace was really very interesting because it was
Israeli.
an Israeli and a Palestinian combatant who happened to get together and start talking to each other and finding out that they had very much in common as human beings. And they started a peace movement, it was really very interesting to see that happening.
How long ago was this?
That one was 2 years ago.
Yeah. We
And
did one last year, was the Killer Bees.
Right.
Did you ever hear of the Killer
Yeah,
Bees?
sure.
From
Oh,
Bridgehampton?
yeah.
Yeah.
I played in that gymnasium.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how old I am. Well,
Wonderful.
do you have anything else to say? Because I have one more final question, but do you
Okay,
have
go
any
a-
other
yeah.
points?
Yeah.
Go
I would
ahead.
just like to add one thing because I
Sure.
think this is very important. Another piece of the work that we do is looking at legislative issues.
Oh, good.
And one of the things that
have
we've
it.
worked very diligently on, and that Tim Garneau and Andrew Strong, who are members of the task force, worked on, was we sponsored a driver's license for all program. We worked diligently in advocating for the passage of this bill. And there was a forum on November 6th at the library with Fred Thiel, Minerva Perez, Mike Sarlo, and Andrew Strong to discuss the bill, and the purpose being to allay some of the fears in our immigrant community about applying for the driver's license. That was one of the things we did. We also advocated for mental health services And we also are now advocating for the affordable housing bill that the Senate or the legislature is still working on, which would allow an additional 1% tax on the
It got vetoed by the
comprehensive. It
governor.
got vetoed,
Yeah,
but
thank
they're
you.
revisiting it.
That's a great
And-
point. That's a great idea, too.
Yes, it is, and it would enable the 5 East End towns to build more affordable housing, which we need desperately in our town.
Well, we have 1 minute and 13 seconds and counting. Audrey, tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, where'd you come from?
Well,
East
I came from
Hampton.
right here in East Hampton,
I
Hugh.
know.
We all grew up together, right?
Yeah,
we
we
grew up
did.
we
Yeah.
grew up together.
You
My
have
background is that I'm a social worker. I worked for here in East Hampton for the for Human Services and Division of Youth Services. I was a director there. Spent a wonderful maybe 20 some odd years there working, and with children, family, and youth. We had a parent resource center. We had many wonderful programs, after school programs throughout the town. Advocated a lot for a lot of students, and advocated a lot for, what exactly we're
What we're
doing
doing
now,
right now.
and that's what we're doing now.
Edna,
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Manhattan.
you're from away, huh?
from away. And I think I was in school in the 40s and late 30s, 40s, 50s, when especially racial bias was a very real issue. I was very fortunate to go to public schools in Manhattan, where there was a very diverse group of kids. I'm a social worker. I came out here and I've lived in Montauk since 1960. I had many experiences of actually being with people who were being discriminated against in my work as well as growing up. And I became very sensitive, I think, to those issues. I had many good friends and had a minister who had another minister friend who was from Ghana. And as teenagers, their goal was to bring the African American community and our community together. And they were very consciously doing that.
But then you work for the town.
I worked for the town as Director of Human Services for 25 years.
Okay.
And we developed many programs, as Audrey has pointed out, for seniors and for families and individuals as well. And we dealt with many issues that
Okay, we got to wrap it up. Okay, thank you, Edna and Audrey. And this is only the first of many programs called Diversity, brought to you by the East Hampton Town Antibias Task Force. My name is Hugh King. You won't see me next time. Thank you, LTV. Goodbye.